Speed cubing is very competitive. Hundreds of competitions are held around the world every year where cubers attempt to solve the Rubik's Cube in the fastest time possible. The world record is currently 3.47 seconds, which is an insanely fast time, and some of you may be thinking that doesn't even sound humanly possible. And you know what? You guys might actually be right. Because despite what the record books say, I don't think the world record is just under 3.5 seconds. I think it's just over 9 seconds, which is more than 2.5 times slower.
So what's going on? Why do I think the records are inaccurate? Well, to show you what I'm talking about, let's take a look at the records of two of the fastest cubers on Earth. Alright, this is Felix. Here's a video of him solving the cube in 4.16 seconds, which at the time of recording was the 7th fastest solve in the world. Now this is Patrick, a video of him solving the cube in 4.24 seconds, which at the time of recording was the 8th fastest solve in the world. So that's 4.16 for Felix, 4.24 for Patrick. Now this is going to sound like a weird question, but just humour me. Who solved the cube faster, Felix or Patrick? Alright, have you got your answer? Let's take a look.
Yes!
Wait a minute, did Patrick just solve the cube faster than Felix? Well, yes and no. Now if you're feeling a bit confused, don't worry, I'm about to explain what's going on, and if you're a speed cuber, bear with me, I'm going to bring everyone up to speed so we can examine this problem together. So in a competition, each attempt at solving the Rubik's Cube is split into 2 phases, and each of those phases has its own separate timer. Let's take a look at phase 1 first, the inspection. A judge reveals the cube and starts a stopwatch. The competitor then has up to 15 seconds to pick up and examine their cube. They cannot unscramble the cube, they can only look at it. So what are they doing exactly? Well, they're solving it in their head. They're examining the cube from all angles to see how it is scrambled, and then using that information to mentally plan how they're going to physically solve it. Let's switch to a simpler example. Now you'd never see a cube scrambled like this in a competition. I just want to show the process for those that don't know how to solve a Rubik's Cube. So the inspection phase begins and the cuber looks at their cube. They can see where the pieces are positioned and they mentally run through the steps they would take to solve the cube. They can use as much of the 15 seconds as they wish, and when they're ready, they put the cube down and we move to phase 2, the solve. Now this is the phase that everyone cares about because this is when they pick up and physically solve the cube. Note that the stopwatch is not in use here. Instead, we switch to one of these, a timer designed specifically for speed cubing. These timers ensure that the cube is not being touched before the timer starts or after it stops. The timer is controlled by 2 pressure pads on the table, which the cuber places their hands on before beginning the solve. The timer starts as soon as they release their hands and pick up the cube, and it stops after the solved cube is dropped on the table and they return both of their hands to the pads. Now remember that I said this is the phase that everyone cares about? That's because this is the phase that counts on paper. The only time that gets recorded in the record books is the readout on this timer. The up to 15 seconds inspection time is not recorded. So that's how an attempt at solving the cube works in a competition. They inspect the cube for up to 15 seconds and then they solve it as fast as they can. The inspection time is not recorded, the solve time is recorded. When we saw Felix and Patrick go head to head earlier, I showed both of the phases. I showed the inspection and the solve combined. And you can see the reason Patrick finished first is because he used significantly less inspection time than Felix, and this more than made up for the difference in their solve times. So let's see the footage the way it's meant to be seen. The solve phase for Felix and Patrick side by side. Looks a hell of a lot closer this time, doesn't it? And if we slow it down, we can see that Felix is just ahead. So, does that change your opinion? What do you guys think? With everything you've now learned, who solved the cube faster, Felix or Patrick? If you think that it's Felix, then I totally get it. We don't count the inspection under the rules of the game, and Felix was faster at that game. But we're not asking who won the game, we're asking who solved the cube faster. So why wouldn't we count the time taken in the inspection phase? After all, they are solving it in that phase, they're just doing it mentally. If we forget about the current rules and we are just concerned with who solved the cube faster, then I would argue that we have to take the entire time into account. All of the time taken from seeing an unsolved cube right up to the point where the cube is solved. The 100 meters world record is 9.58 seconds. That means that somebody ran 100 meters in 9.58 seconds. The typing world record is 216 words per minute. That means that somebody typed 216 words in a minute. Now the Rubik's Cube world record is 3.47 seconds, but that doesn't mean he solved the cube in 3.47 seconds. He actually used closer to 10 seconds. So is he still the fastest cuber in the world? Well, there's only one way to find out. So let's take the top Rubik's Cube world records, but let's include their inspection time and see if that changes things. That's interesting. Nick Sanchez has made a big leap to the front of the pack, solving the cube faster than the world record holder. So wait, does that mean he's technically the fastest in the world? Well, there's only one way to find out. So let's take the top 100 Rubik's Cube world records. Okay, this is going to get too messy, so let's add the inspection time in the background. Now we can reduce this to the 10 records that use the least time overall. So this is our new top 10. Let's take a look at where they stood in the original top 100. Now most of these records are from high up the leaderboard, as expected. But then we have positions 51, 76, 93 and 99. That's insane. All right, we've waited long enough. Who has the fastest solve in the top 100? Let's take a look. Once again, Nick Sanchez takes first place. He has the fastest solve in the top 100. But how about Xiaoyu Wang? He went from position 99 to position 10. He may be the most underrated cuber in the world. I wonder how the top 100 looks now. Let's take a look. Now, unfortunately, 32 of the records either didn't have a video or their video didn't show the inspection phase, so this analysis is limited to 68 records, and here they are. Now it's a pretty straight graph here, but when we have the inspection time, it's a completely different story. The values are all over the place. So let's sort the data by total time used. Now there's a lot of data here, and it's more than likely out of date by the time you're watching this, so let's just highlight a few big moves. So I'll highlight their new position on the left and I'll show their old position on the right. When we do this, you can see just how much their positions have changed. They move right up the rankings when we include their inspection. But it's not all positive. There are of course big moves in the opposite direction. So I'll show their new position on the right and their old position on the left. And look, Felix and Timon, two of the most famous cubers in the world, have some of the biggest moves down the rankings. Even Max Park, widely considered to be the best cuber ever, has slipped down the rankings when we consider his total time. Now, I'm not being very fair to these guys. They're playing a game where they get 15 seconds inspection time, and they can use as much of that as they need. But I'm still interested in how much time they used overall, and if you're still watching this, I think you are too. So where does that leave us? Well, I think we need a new event that takes inspection time into account, because I want to know the fastest time for solving a Rubik's Cube, and the current 3x3 main event, although fun and very popular, does not tell us this. And there's plenty of room for new events. I mean, we already have fastest solve, fastest average, fewest moves, one-handed, blindfolded, and feet. I mean, if we're solving Rubik's Cubes with our feet, surely we've got time to solve them without inspection. And it opens up competition. I mean, to get in the top 100 now, you have to solve the cube in around 5.3 seconds. That's a small target. Good luck hitting that one. But if we include inspection time, the target is likely to be much bigger. Currently, the slowest time is 17.45 seconds. That's a way bigger target, and it gives more cubers a chance to compete. And there'll be fewer draws. The top 100 is filled with ties. For example, there are 3 people tied at position 24. Aaron, Bill and Drew all solved the cube in 4.76 seconds, so as far as the record books are concerned, they all perform the same. But include their inspection time and we see that they didn't all perform the same, and the tie is broken. Now these kids dedicate so much of their lives to get into the top 100, and when they get there, over 60% of them have to say something like, well, I'm kind of joint 65th with 3 other people. And even worse, the WCA lists all draws in alphabetical order. So why does this matter? Well, you'll notice that in this instance, the top 100 has no position 100. That's because there's a joint holder at position 99. The second record is practically at position 100. So if somebody else gets onto the top 100, Jiayu Wang will be kicked off before Dylan Wang, based just on where their name sits alphabetically. So with that in mind, take a look at the difference between the fastest and slowest records and compare that to the difference when we include inspection time. The variance in the results is much greater, therefore the likelihood of a draw is far less. Now we only have 1 draw, whereas look at what it was before. It's because we're dealing with a range of 1.84 seconds as opposed to 8.34. Alright, I've made my point. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Max Park. And recently, Max Park released a video with a 3-second inspection and 3-second solve. 6 seconds overall, and everyone was blown away by it, including, by the looks of it, Max Park. Now this would have put him right to the top of our top 100, beating Nick Sanchez by a good, clear 3 seconds. This may be the fastest solve of all time. And we have to talk about Red Bull. Red Bull already has a one-handed no inspection event, and it's really competitive. Now, regardless of what you may think of Red Bull, the truth is that they are competing with the World Cubing Association to become the name in speed cubing, and it's still early days, so there's everything to play for. And I think the organisation that adds the no inspection event first will be the one that sets the true Rubik's Cube world record first. So now what? Well, I want to know what you guys think, so leave a comment with your thoughts and ideas. I'd love to continue the conversation. Especially non-cubers, I'd really like to hear from you guys because I think your perspective is really important because cubing cannot grow without you guys. If you think that anybody else would find this interesting, then share this video with them. The more people we reach, the greater the chances that we can make something happen. Speaking of making things happen, there's nothing really stopping us. Let's start solving without inspection. All you need to do is start your timer before you reveal your cube and then solve like normal. Post your times in the comments and tell us all about your experience. I'm interested in finding out what strategies you guys develop in this new game. And if you can film your solve and post a link to the video in the comments, even better. In fact, I'll give away the latest GAN flagship cube to the fastest recorded solve in the comments. See the description of this video for more details. Now I've used a lot of data in this video and I guarantee the second I release it, it will already be out of date. So check the Google Sheet in the description if you want to see up-to-date data. And if you want to see more videos like this, well, you know what to do.